restrictions meant a live event could not be held this year. So a virtual expo online was planned instead. So how did we go? Well, we had about 100 sporting groups join us. That's almost the same as last year. There were almost 4,000 views on Council's webpage for the event, which included a calendar of more than 30 come and try days, which I understand were well supported. The 36 posts to Council's Facebook page during the month achieved a total of 160,000 people with 12,900 engagements and likes, comments, shares, etc. Additionally, there were more than 12,000 views of our 8 active zone videos. The other one I'd like to mention is the COVID assistance grants, and they were another highlight for me because these recovery assistance grants were for not-for-profit community organisations who were doing it tough. And those eligible were able to apply for up to $5,000 to help meet their immediate financial obligations. And in total, just over $900,000 was provided to 228 local organisations. In closing, can I repeat the words that the CEO said in his overview? Despite the challenges of 2021, staff continued to deliver the core council functions and services, and major projects continued. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Bonaventura. Are there other speakers? Councillor Townsend, speaking for.
Speaking for. Thank you, Your Worship. It certainly was a great read, and it was for me to reflect, as our CEO said, and go through what we've achieved this year, as well as looking forward to future projects. So some of the ones that stood out for me personally was the 5th lane upgrade, which has provided our pedestrians a safe connectivity to areas of the city heart. It's been very well received by our community, and I have to say the festive lights has just made it look at night a really beautiful effect. North Mackay Rotary Lookout, I attended the opening of that, and I had to say I did appreciate the architecture, the amazing views and lighting, which at night is visible to our town and surrounding areas, and it's been promoted as a tourist destination. Another tick of approval from our community. The Blue Water Lagoon saw a refurbishment that was completed in time for summer and was very well received and utilised by our community. The all-inclusive shaded splash pad provides our local disability groups the opportunity of enjoying this new facility. The new northern entrance roundabout to our city makes for an impressive entrance to our city for tourists. 8,000 plants and 42 grasses all make for a welcome statement for those travelling south. The demolition of the building in 6 River Street prepares the way for the proposed waterfront priority development area, and this demolition has unblocked views of the Pioneer River for the first time in over 100 years. Salvage timber from this demolition will be incorporated into the new design, as well as timber piers being left in their original location to ensure that part of our history remains. Our fishing community hasn't been overlooked with the installation of fish hotels. Innovative fish habitat structures installed in close proximity to the Bridge Road and River Street fishing platforms. We also have some not aesthetically pleasing to the eye, but still of significance to our community, which is improvements to the drainage infrastructure beneath Serena Beach Road, Halliday Bay and Murray Creek, delivery of 2 car parks upgrades and a footpath connection from existing Halliday Bay boat ramp to the upgraded car park. CBD footpath upgrades were completed in Wellington Street, Nelson Street, Gordon Street and River Streets. These footpaths provide full Disability Discrimination Act compliance and will provide vital links for pedestrians throughout the commercial precinct. Some current major projects in the work, which I really am excited about, is our new Animal Management Centre, which replaces the outdated and cramped conditions of the old centre and will provide better accommodation for animals, increasing the ability to foster and rehome animals. It will also provide greater client services to the community when impounding animals and better facilities for our staff. Finally, it was great to see Council continues to support local businesses when they can, with the approval of 47 contracts, totalling almost $52 million to local contracts. I have to say it was a great read, and it was a great opportunity for all of us to reflect on the year that's been. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Townsend. Are there other speakers? Other speakers? Thank you, councillors, for the recap. And it was a year like no other, but there's certainly a lot been achieved. And so can I add my congratulations to the CEO and directors for a great read, yes, but a good reflection of a very, very busy year under trying conditions at times. I'll put the motion. Those in favour? Any against? Motion's carried unanimously. Thank you. 11.2.1, the Strategic Financial Report for the month of July. CEO.
Thank you. 1 month in, so it's a bit hard to see any trending. We've got a $1.8 million positive variance, so revenues there or thereabouts, and most of the variance is in the contract services line, so we'll keep an eye on that. As well as that, in the CapEx area, we spent about $5 million against a planned spend of $6 million, and again, we'll keep an eye on that.
Okay, thank you. Questions for the CEO on the Strategic Financial Report review? No questions. Would somebody like to move its adoption? Councillor May moves. Councillor Bonaventura seconds. Councillor May.
Thank you very much, Your Worship. As we know, only 1 month in, so there's not a whole lot to be comparing to or talking about. But what I did want to draw out is just the areas of concerns for noting that we're still in the COVID pandemic, and that will continue to play out in our community and the state, and reflect probably alterations to our budget in the coming months. I think the other really big area that we need to really be keeping a watch on is the asset data cleansing. And we know from last year's result, there was massive movements due to the work that the council has carried out in ensuring that our assets are being captured and updated and valued. All plays a part in making alterations to our budget as we move forward. So it's really great to see that those things are being called out. And of course, the expenditure for projects and the, I suppose, the stress on the materials, accessing materials, the stress on resources, not having enough resources, not being able to fill positions, always impacts the budget, and therefore the reforecasting and readjustments to the budget need to be taken into account. So it's really great to see that just in 1 month in, we'll see further on in our agenda the reforecasting for the budget after 1 month. It just goes to show how fluid this is, and what I would really like to say is how adaptable our staff is in managing that and staying on top of it.
Thanks, Councillor May. Speaker against? Any other speakers? I'll put the motion. Those in favour? Any against? The motion's carried unanimously. Thank you. 11.2.2, the August 2021 budget review in terms of carryover. CEO will get the director. Director, would you like to speak to this?
Thank you, Your Worship. The following report identifies changes to the 21-22 budget, mainly as a result of carryovers. Carryovers are a result of timing of expenditure. It's not additional expenditure, it's just the timing of when the financial year ends and when the expenditure occurs. So negative carryovers represent money that we spent last year that was budgeted for this year. Positive carryovers means we didn't quite spend the money last year, we need to carry it over to spend this year. We've also taken the time to make some other adjustments to the budget, looking at the deliverability of the capital program and seeing whether we can deliver the additional expenditure plus what we already had there. So,
thank you, Director. Are there questions for the Director? Councillor Green.
Thank you. On electronic page 156, just the re-budget for 2022 and 2023, just are there any considered impacts, if any, of pushing back, particularly the sewage pump station refurbishment, the Kamala water storage, etc., those particular items, an impact on the community or our own infrastructure?
So it's probably an operational. That's an operational question rather than the budget review question. Can you answer that, Director?
Sorry. Yeah.
So in terms of
the re-budget,
what we're doing is just bringing to account either underspends or overspends in this year's budget. This is what this is all about. Councillor Green's question was: is there an operational impact on any, particularly what there is a couple of the water treatment plant?
Yeah, and the sewage pump station refurbishments.
Yeah, through you, Madam. So we've revised some works that are in parallel to that. So the actual treatment plant itself is proceeding, but we were going to do some works around the existing reservoir, which is a high level reservoir. We were converting that to a low level part of the work. So that's the reason why that's identified. So the Kamala treatment plant is still on target to get completed, I think, roughly by the end of this calendar year, but the rest of the works, which are auxiliary, will go further into.
Thank you.
Further questions? Further questions? Would somebody like to move then the August 2021 budget review carryovers adoption? Councillor May moves. Councillor Jones seconds. Councillor May.
Thank you very much, Your Worship. It's a very complex area of council when you bring to account the finalisation of a financial year, and we see that we have 334 projects that require a budget adjustment in the 21-22 as a result of those carryovers. It's been identified there's approximately $12 million in carryover, and when you look at our total capital works budget for last year of over $100 million, in the scheme of things, $12 million is not that worrying. There's lots of reasons, and the reasons are being explained in the report around the availability of material, the availability of resources, some delays in design work, some delays with contractors, again, them having troubles at accessing material. So when you put all of that in the mixing pot and you come out with approximately 83 to 85% of the capital program actually being delivered, I think the carryovers have been managed very well and have been explained fully to council between briefings and the report that we have before us today. One part that I would like to draw out that's written in the report is the possible change of the capital requirements and the budget reforecasting, coming back from a quarterly review to an as-required review. So that will give our directors the more flexibility in being able to deal with those adjustments quicker and to make the capital program and delivery schedule more fluid as that progresses. The major, as we said, the major contributing factor to the adjustments has been additional expenditure on some projects, and that is always very difficult when the market is tight to be able to really forecast accurately what that might look like. So I think overall the revised capital budget expenditure for 21-22 has increased by $15 million to $127 million. That's those carryovers. But the operating surplus is being maintained at approximately 600,000. So I think if we can monitor that closely as the year progresses and we bring to account those changes on an as-required basis, it will enable the organisation to be more flexible and hopefully deliver closer to the budget as required.
Thanks very much. Councillor May, speaker against? Any other speakers? No other speakers? I'll put the motion. Those in favour? Any against? The motion is carried unanimously. Thank you. Development Services report for the month of July. Director.
Thank you, Worship. It's been a busy start looking at for the financial year for development services, and I've got some highlights from July as follows. So a community survey was released in July for the Mackay Urban Greening Project, seeking community feedback on how important trees and vegetation are to our community and whether the community would like to see greener neighbourhoods in urban areas. Safety continues to be a focus for the department, but unfortunately we did have one lost time injury in July with a staff member having an allergic reaction to a tick bite. Consultation on the draft Mackay Floodplain Management Plan closed mid-July and submissions are currently being reviewed. We're continuing to see strong application numbers in our development assessment and development engineering teams, reflecting the continuing high level of development activity across the region as we start the new financial year. Work on weed control in the Botanic Gardens Lagoon continued in July with a long arm excavator, weed harvester and weed spraying used to control the aquatic weeds. The desilting trial is entering its final stages with final soil samples scheduled to be taken tomorrow, And we unfortunately had another delay in the collection of leachate due to the need for additional watering and potential issues with the sumps, which are being worked through between the staff and consultants as we speak. And we should have an ETA on the final report within the next week. And finally, we received the customer survey results for the Parks program for May-June, with Parks scoring 4.5 stars and a 5-star rating for this period. Given the current vacancies in this program, this is an excellent result. And with that, I'd like to present this report to Council for consideration.
Thank you very much, Director. It's great to see the advancement of the Serena Sugar Shed again in this report. Another record month. Fantastic to see. Are there questions for the Director? Councillor Jones.
Thank you, Your Worship. I've just had one of my questions answered, and that is that hopefully in the next week or so we're going to have some information about the desilting trial. Been eagerly awaiting the report. But my other question is to do with the ED department on page 185. So in relation to the Mackay Beach horse races, Mayor, I'd like to see if the report that was presented to Mackay Tourism and the Economic Development officers in May be made available for councillors to be able to have a read at, because I personally would like to have that opportunity to read that report as an elected representative, so that I might be able to share some viewpoints with the Events Attraction Committee, and that way I know that I'm maintaining that the community get their voice on this matter. So I'm wondering also, when do I get my opportunity to be able to give feedback prior to any decisions being made?
Okay, as Director, I don't think there was anything commercial in confidence in that report, was there? There was. Can some of it be redacted and we get a brief, a synopsis to the councillors?
Yeah, thank you, Your Worship. The plan was we're just doing a little bit more work with Mackay Tourism. We've had a discussion with the committee as outlined in the report, and then we will be having a further briefing with council.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
There won't be any decisions made until there's further discussions with council.
All right.
Greatly appreciated.
Okay.
Thank you, Your Worship.
Councillor Seymour.
Regarding the chainsaw having a forearm, is there regular retraining on these devices, like every 6 months, every 12 months?
CEO.
Yes, there is. So we're actually looking at the way that we do some work, and we're changing work practices. So the manufacturers also changed the recommendation that you need to have 2 hands on, whereas previously it was acceptable to have 1. So with that 2 hands, hopefully that will eliminate a number of the issues, but it is requiring us to go back and look at work practices, which means that potentially some time on tasks will take longer because there's also smaller chopping as well involved. So, yeah.
Very good, thank you.
Good question. Further questions? Councillor Bonaventura.
Just got 2. One's just an error, I think, in the page 181 in the National Tree Day. The Director's got that it happened on Friday the 30th of June. It was actually Friday 30th of July. But if that could be corrected, please.
Certainly.
The other one, on page 185, it says, according to the report, the Mackay Big Match Day takeover at the Metricon Stadium appears to have been a great success. Can I ask, what is the end date for our partnership with the Gold Coast Suns?
I think that's been subject to a couple of briefings so far.
Yes, thank you, Worship. I know we've got another, I think, just under 2 years to go. I don't know the exact end date. Again, we have an upcoming briefing scheduled with council to go through that partnership and have a deal.
All right, thank you.
Further questions? No further questions? Would somebody like to move the Development Services report be adopted? Councillor Englert, seconded by Councillor Townsend. Councillor Englert.
Thank you, Worship. Good report, as usual, flooded with green. With regards to the Pioneer Valley Small Business Mentoring Program, the program has now worked with 10 local businesses with a mentoring program to assist them with further opportunities with regards to the mountain bike trailhead at Finchatton. And as mentioned by a couple of people now, the Serena Sugar Shed achieved a record month of revenue in July, reaching $118,000, which surpassed previous high of $111,000 in December 2020. As a result of, I'll get back to that. Natural environment projects, the water weed control people have been working with the pest management team to identify sites where water weed control is required. So we get a lot of feedback from the community that they're not pleased with the amount of weed in some of our waterways, so that's a good thing, responding to those concerns. The Serena Beach Local Coastal Plan, there's been preliminary information gathering program out there with local residents, and we'll be working on that and going back to them with some feedback soon. The Recreational Fishing Strategy Steering Group meeting on the 29th of June, councillors continue to implement strategy actions and work with group members. It's a very enthusiastic group of people who are interested in fishing in the region. The group still has some way to ensure that we go through the process of ensuring governance is in place, and that we dot all our I's and cross all our T's before we work on to some of the more media issues of the region. It's like herding cats sometimes, but we're almost there. Earthcheck Consulting has been appointed by Mackay Tourism in collaboration with Mackay and Rockhampton Regional Councils to develop the concept plan for the Barramundi Highway. So that's councils working together to ensure that, you know, getting out to people that this part of central Queensland, coastal Queensland, is ripe with barramundi, and if you're going to come for a travel up north, you might as well go Rockhampton, Mackay, Townsville and catch barramundi at each of those locations. The revenue at the Sugar Shed was a result, that's been achieved during standard trading times with no special events on, they had, the Sugar Shed had 1,989 ticket sales valued at $39,000 for the school holiday period. So, in my opinion, it's been possibly worthwhile to continue the support past what we might consider to be that risk period. The Sugar Shed looks as though it may be out the end of the tunnel, and with appropriate growth, it gives council options in the future as to whether to maintain it as a tourist attraction or to sell it in the interests of the ratepayers at a profit. But definitely congratulations to the Sugar Shed people and to the program for maintaining support in that. And just to finish off, just to remind people, we've got the Race to Rescue at Kitchen Dam on the 28th and 29th of August, and the Pertec Mackay Motor Show at Mackay Showgrounds on the 11th and 12th of September.
Thank you very much, Councillor England. Speaker against? Any other speakers? Councillor Bonaventura speaking for.
Yes, Your Worship. I'd just like to say a few words about the speaking of the school tree planting day. Councillor Hassan and I were both down there. An excellent morning. Lots of excited kids. You could hear them all arrive and walk in. You could hear them coming before you could see them. And their enthusiasm for planting those trees was just exceptional. And to see within 2 hours a brown mat turned into shoots of green was an excellent result. So congratulations to staff and all those involved. I too would also echo your words and congratulations to the Sugar Shed on their success. And as we know around this table, I've been quite critical many times on the performance of the Sugar Shed. But today I'm happy to congratulate them on that excellent result, especially a mid-year result like that. It wasn't at Christmas time, it wasn't a special event. So congratulations to the Sugar Shed for their result.
Thanks, Councillor Bonaventura. Councillor Townsend speaking for.
Thank you, Your Worship. I would just like to congratulate the NQ Rockin' Country Festival that was held last weekend. I was very lucky to attend on 3 days, and against all odds with COVID and artists cancelling because they weren't allowed to come into Queensland, to my way of thinking, it was hugely successful. And I really would encourage our people next year, because I believe it will go ahead. If you've missed out these 3 days, go along next year, because ultimately Mackay is going to be the new Tamworth. I kid you not. And it was also good to see our local talent there, including our Graham Connors, who performed, and you could see he just absolutely loved being up on the stage again. So huge congratulations to the organisers and people behind the scenes, because it was a fantastic 3 days. I would also like to pass on my congratulations to the Serena Sugar Shed. We've all heard of the results that they've had, but I just wanted to say that we need to give them a huge congratulations to the management and the staff and the volunteers. Success just doesn't happen. It's hard work, dedication and belief in your products that the staff and volunteers of the Serena Sugar Shed have in spades, and has certainly contributed to the success that they have worked towards and now enjoy. I'll also confess that at the Greater Whitsunday Food Network, they actually had a stall set up, and I was bribed into taste testing one of their new liqueurs, but can I say there was quite a line-up behind me waiting to taste test some of their liqueurs on the day. So I'd really like our congratulations to be passed on to management staff and volunteers in acknowledgement for their hard work, dedication and success.
Thank you very much, Councillor Townsend. Other speakers? No other speakers? I'll put the motion. Those in favour? Any against? The motion is carried. Thank you. Let's move on to our ECI reports then for the month of July. The first is the Engineering Commercial Infrastructure Report for Transport and Drainage. Director.
Thank you, Your Worship. So highlighting safety, good to see no lost time injuries, 12 incidents, 9 with plant and equipment and 3 injuries to staff, minor in nature, but obviously 12 incidents still a significant number for the month. Great to see that our DA, long-awaited DA process to get approvals to get into our drains to maintain it is finally complete. So it's been a lengthy process, but you know, we've got the results now where we can obviously get it in clean as required, taking into account the aquatic plants that exist in those drains. Heavy patching works are focused this time of year with the dry conditions, so lots of work's going on across the region. Our customer survey results for May and June were excellent with 4.25 stars achieved for civil operations, so that's great to see. And in our assets area, we continue to work and get prepared for the water and sewage valuations that's coming, and continue to focus on ADAC and completion of our works in progress. Other than that, happy to take questions.
Thanks, Director. Questions for the Director on this report? Councillor Bonaventura.
Just on page 207, in relation to our assets. So thank you for the graphs indicating our asset maturity targets on all fronts, and this gives a much clearer picture of an understanding of the state of our assets. But my question is in regards to roads infrastructure. There are 2 major areas that stand out below par. One is bridges and the other one is culverts. I'm just wondering if the Director could please give us a view on how they plan to rectify that situation, or just a bit of an explanation on it, please.
Certainly, Director.
Yeah, through your worship, I think as council would be aware, we've had a gap in our data in culverts in our rural areas, so we have a crew going around identifying the location condition of all rural culverts. So that's probably still got at least another 18 months to 2 years to go before we've completed that. And the bridge inspection stuff is a continuous process for us. So we do level 1 and 2 inspections, so we're gathering data all the time in relation to those. So the bridges is not necessarily a known asset being there, but probably more the condition monitoring that we continue to have to update.
Thank you. Okay.
It's a long way behind 18 months, but that's good. I'm glad we're working on it. Thank you.
The bridges, of course, have been presented to Council on a number of occasions.
Yes.
Okay, are there other questions? No other questions? Would somebody like to move the report's adoption, please? Councillor Mann moves, seconded by Councillor Hassan. Councillor Mann.
Thank you, Worship. I would like to mention no LTIs for July as well, and thank the Director and all the staff. That is an excellent result. In terms of maintenance, 2 sign crews have significantly reduced the backlog of signed work orders throughout the region. So that's always, I think, a really positive result as well. And 121 footpath repairs. So we often hear about our footpaths needing maintenance, so that was really good to see that they were completed during July, including 9 in Moroney area and 4 in Serena area. Grading crews have been very busy as well, with 35 kilometres of heavy formation grading and 25 kilometres of roadside drainage maintenance complete. So again, we pay a lot of attention to rural roads, and that's something that our community definitely expect. Rehab to Goose Ponds footbridge is now mostly complete, and I just wanted to touch on excellent customer service results for May, June, with most of the comments being very complimentary to our staff, so well done to the staff.
Thanks, Councillor Mann. Speaker against? Are there any other speakers? Councillor Bella speaking for.
I'll start off with a little bit of a negative, referring to Councillor Bonaventura's question with regards to bridges, culverts. I look forward to us actually getting through that period. Collapsed culverts and pipes actually have an effect not only on drainage but also on the ability to use that road, especially on bends and curves, as I showed the councillors there last month. If you've got a collapsed pipe, vehicle coming around it will bounce and move into the other lane. So it can be quite dangerous for an oncoming vehicle, especially on a narrow road. However, on the other side of the ledger, there have been significant works going on throughout southern region. I haven't had a chance to drive elsewhere, where we've been resealing roads, some of which some people have said to me that didn't need resealing, but as we've been made aware, you reach a point that's not visibly obvious where the road starts to deteriorate and it's not resealed at that point. It's a big job. The other thing I'm really pleased with is that, for a long time we've been reinforcing roads on cul-de-sacs where garbage trucks turn around, Paget with his heavy vehicle and that sort of thing. And we haven't bothered, when we've got an industry like the sugar industry that contributes so much to the region on so many levels, we haven't bothered to do that in the past in this council. And just recently, I've noticed that what we've started to do is where there are heavy vehicles entering or leaving our roadways, as well as resealing, we've put a asphalt panel. Many of those vehicles are dual axle, and the normal chip seal and that sort of thing that we do doesn't stand up. So in actual fact, not only is it a blessing for the operators and owners of that machinery, it's also a blessing for people that live in that area. And I ultimately think it's a very astute move on our council's part, because it's going to save us a heck of a lot of money on maintenance in the long term. So my congratulations goes to the department on this move. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Bauer. Are there other speakers? No other speakers? I'll put the motion. Those in favour? Against? Motion's carried unanimously. ECI for waste services.
Thank you, Worship. So Hogan Pocket tonnages were down a little bit from June, so again we have that variability. So hopefully that's just a recognition that people are sorting their material more and diverting it to other uses rather than taking it to Hogan Pocket. So green waste tonnage is starting to trend up a little bit. So normally this time of the year is our slower time of the year with growth, but we should see that start to progress, especially once we get into the wet season. There was about 308,000 bin lifts, 52 new bins, and 591 bin maintenance requests for the month. So again, a busy month in relation to collection services. Just a reminder, dump vouchers are at 90% at the end of July, so we're already near the end of August, so we've got the end of September for the current ones. So encourage people to get in and use those as much as they can, and again, a good opportunity to sort of do a clean up before the cyclone season comes in advance. The materials recovery facility continues to be consistent. We still obviously have inbound material coming from Rockhampton, but the outbound material seems to be fairly consistent in relation to what we're to get to the market. And interestingly, there was a slight decrease in relation to contamination, and we'll just have to watch that to see if that's a trend or not.
Thanks, Director. Questions for the Director? Councillor Bonaventura.
Page 223, Your Worship, there's a graph. It says resource recovery facility tonnages. And, it says that 342 tonnes of material was sold at the Incredible Tip Shop during July, which is an increase of 169 tonnes. Can I get some idea how you calculate that tonnage? Because I've been there, no one's ever weighed what I take home or what we buy. But how do you calculate that tonnage? I just have a query on the
Thanks,
authenticity of that
report.
Yeah, it's a good question, Councillor. I'll probably have to take that on notice. How we do that.
Please.
With Incredibles to calculate those numbers.
That would be appreciated. Thank you.
Further questions? No further questions. Would somebody like to move the report's adoption? Councillor Hassan moves, seconded by Councillor Townsend. Councillor Hassan.
Thank you, Worship. Just echoing the Director's words again this month, it's always pleasing to read in the reports that there's no lost time injuries or incidents in the waste services area this month. So that's always a great reflection on the staff and the contractors' attention to safety, that they consistently achieve these results. Again, echoing the Director's words, I'd like to encourage our residents to get their spring cleaning underway, because they've only got just over a month to get those dump vouchers used. So everybody complains about not having free dumping. Well, those vouchers are your chance to get your clean up done before those vouchers expire. In the report, also coming up this weekend is the Great Northern Cleanup. So if any of our community has some spare time this weekend, I'd ask you to consider getting out in your area and helping to tidy up our region. Unfortunately, the need to continually hold this event is a bit disappointing, but hopefully there'll be a time in the future that we don't need to keep calling on our people to undertake this, but as long as there's illegal dumping in our region, this Great Northern Cleanup needs to continue. It was good to see in the report that our materials recovery facility tours are going to be underway again. This was closed down as a result of COVID. Having done that tour myself, it's amazing how interesting rubbish can be. So I'd encourage the community any community groups to undertake these tours. It's a really interesting part of what council does. And finally, I'd like to commend the management team and staff for their ongoing commitment to continuous improvement within the waste services business. This month's report advises of the Waste Management and Resource Recovery Strategy Review that's about to be undertaken, and how Mackay Regional Council and the Whitsunday Regional Council are working collaboratively to coordinate our respective strategies. So projects like this will greatly benefit ratepayers and potentially reduce future costs to people in a community.
Thanks. Councillor Haslett, speaker against. Any other speakers? Councillor Bonaventura speaking for.
Yes, Your Worship. Just want to highlight one point, and that is the 52 new bins that were delivered by our contractors. Our annual medium is only 36, so to me that means that you've got 52 new properties that have come online for the month. So that just shows how our area is growing and growing way above our previous average. So we're doing well. So thank you.
It's a good stat. Thanks very much, Councillor Bonaventura. Are there other speakers? No other speakers? I'll put the motion. Those in favour? Any against? Motion's carried unanimously. ECI for water for the month of
Thank you, Your Worship. Starting with safety, so very pleased to see that water services have achieved no LTI for the last financial year. So under our reward recognition of achieving 360 days, they get $1,000 worth donation to a charity. So looking forward to that opportunity for the team to nominate a worthy charity in our local region. Water consumption, so starting to see that trend up. So as we always say, heading into the drier times and the warmer weather, and our residents loving their grass and gardens and trying to keep the water up there. So just a reminder, obviously, to use water efficiently. Leak notifications, again, lots of leak notifications out. You'll notice for those members that are part of my H2O, there's about 5,000 notifications issued to about 1,000 if you're not. So just a reminder, and I had a recent example where Monday I got a text message to say I had a leak. So I was able to go home and found that I had a hose that was on with the trigger nozzle and it was leaking at the tap. So been doing so for 3 days. So just proves that the system does work and you get it online. So there you go. Number of work requests for the month, so 95% completion rate, so above target, so that's great to see. Midpoint pipeline works progressing, so we've done the interconnection with the reservoir now, still waiting to do a bit of an assessment on tenders for the treatment plant and what we need to do there, but progressing with that, and hopefully things are in place to improve water quality for Midpoint residents, especially going into the wet season. And just to highlight customer survey results for May, June, so again, excellent results for the water business.
Thanks, Director. Questions on water? No questions on water. Would somebody like to move then the ECA water report be adopted? Somebody? Councillor Jones moves, seconded by Councillor Hassan. Councillor Jones?
Director did a great job.
Okay, thanks. I'll put the motion. Those in favour? Any against? The motion's carried unanimously. Thank you. And let's move on now to organisational services monthly review for July. Director.
Thank you, Your Worship. Safety continues to be a focus of the department with no LTIs reported since 17/18. However, I have to report, unfortunately, a worker was injured their knee while standing from a chair and lost 3 lost time injuries during August. This will be formally reported in next month's report. Just wanted to give you the heads up. Some highlights for the past month include process improvements were made to the animal registration process to increase automation, productivity and increase compliance with registration. This resulted in over 1,000 additional registrations processed during the discount period and a 30% increase in revenue post the discount period when compared to the same time last year. Our shared services team continue to look for and implement business process improvements across the organisation. Our call centre team have achieved great results this month with customer service satisfaction at 97%, and greater service and abandoned calls all exceeding KPIs at 89% and 4% respectively. Special mention to Letitia McMullen from our Employee Services team for being recognised as the winner in the Equity Vet Student of the Year category at the recent Regional Queensland Training Awards. Tish will now continue on to the State Awards to be held in Brisbane in September, so good luck to Tish. Young swimmers across the region participated in the Little Champions water campaign at the Mark and Pioneer pools. This program helped to retain members and families over the cooler months and also tied in nicely with the recent Olympic Games, hopefully producing some champions for the future. Information Services completed a phishing, that's with a PH on that, campaign within the organisation to increase employees' knowledge and awareness of cybersecurity threats. Follow-up actions continue. Property Service arranged for the full external repainting of the BB Prince Stadium just in time to host some nationally televised NRL games, ensuring the stadium was looking good at that time. During July, councillors participated in a financial management and practice workshop run by QTC, where I'm sure they gained valuable insights into the interpretation of financial statements and reports, and will ask some great questions of me in the future. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Director. Questions for the Director? Councillor Jones.
Thank you, Your Worship. I have two questions. One on, I think it's page 266, procurement and plan, local spend for the month of July. My question is 42% local spend is one of our lowest local by spends, and that we've had for some time, and that there's a 58% external spend. So I'm just curious, what does that mean? And my assumption is that maybe a large piece of equipment was purchased external, and that's why maybe it's higher for external than...
It's actually a lot of our annual payments, including insurance, some annual subscriptions that all get paid in July, and obviously a lot of them are more national than local bodies, so that's why we should see it increase in the next months.
Okay. And my second question, Your Worship, on page 267, 8.2 aquatics facilities, attendance figures. Now, I realise that the Blue Water Lagoon has some stats within this part of the report, but I just felt that the aquatics facility attendance figures, there's a list of the Memorial Pool, the Pioneer Pool, the Morani Pool, the Serena Pool and the Mark, but the Blue Water Lagoon is not on that table. So I'm wondering whether or not, you know, it has attendance figures. I know that we count the numbers. I'm wondering if it's possible to have that rectified.
It's on the next page. We don't include them with the other quotes because their numbers are so much higher than the others, so it distorts the graph. So the Blue Water Lagoon attendance figures are reported separately on the next page.
Yeah, I'm not necessarily talking about the graph. It's this little box here.
Yeah.
And I know that it's closed at the moment, as are other pools like Morani, Serena and Memorial that are noted in that little table.
Yeah, there is a table later on, so if you want it all included, that's fine. But
I just
sort
thought
of separate them.
Just thought that covers off. That's all of our pools in that little graph there, and it's just a quick snapshot. That was all. Just my thoughts, and yeah, thank you, Worship.
Thank you. Further questions? Councillor Mann.
I've got a couple as well. So in terms of business improvements, which I'm all for, I'm just wondering if the business improvement on the front end puts extra pressure on the back end for systems that maybe don't integrate or anything like that. So that's my first.
Director.
So yeah, when we look at business improvements, we look at the systems and stuff and work as a whole to try and make sure we don't create problems for another area. So sometimes, even though we'd like to push forward with some business improvement, there might be a system that's holding us back. So then we stage the improvement over the time.
Okay.
Another question?
Yes. So greater service result, which met the KPI, which is really good. But is that as a result of more staff or reduced calls?
It's not so much as the reduced calls, it's actually the actual time that the handling time of each calls. So the majority of calls we got in July were animal registrations and a few other things I can't remember. But they're quite quick to deal with, so the actual handling time per call was a lot lower than some other call types. So it's mainly that reason.
And my last one, 111 total active vacant positions, only 30 were advertised. So just wondering why that was.
Just the timing, some vacancies were holding for various reasons, including the parts restructure, so we're holding some vacancies. Some are only temporary vacancies, so we're not actively recruiting for those at the moment.
The report said active, 111 active.
Actively vacant, yes, so they're vacant on our list, but that could be in various stages of the recruitment process.
Okay.
Further questions? No further questions, then we'd like to move the report's adoption. Councillor Mann moves, seconded by Councillor Jones. Councillor Mann.
Thank you, Your Worship. I must mention safety. No LTIs since 2017-18, which is an amazing result, and it is truly by dedication of everybody in that directorate. So I'd ask that the director pass on thanks to all staff. Development services, business support don't often get recognised for their work, but I wanted to mention some of the services they deliver for council and some of the achievements. So 210 development plumbing applications were received, with 98% resolved within service levels. 143 planning advice inquiries, with 97% resolved within 10 business days. So fantastic results. Also wanted to mention our IT program for the work they deliver for us as a council, in terms of our services, keeping everything going, all the cyber attacks that we're exposed to. But I also wanted to make special mention of IT support staff. So this team continues to experience staffing challenges, but have exceeded all KPIs for the month of July in terms of incident resolution, service request resolution, and internal customer service satisfaction. That's a big one, where 99% of customers felt their experience was met or exceeded. So that's fantastic. And continuing with exceptional service to council, I want to congratulate our shared services staff. For a long time we've been talking about the team, and especially external customer service, not having the staffing resources necessarily to meet our requirements. So regardless of where the KPIs end up each month, we need to ensure our staff know how much we appreciate their services they deliver for our community. I have no doubt that the effects of not meeting KPIs has weighed heavily on staff, and in my opinion, I'd love to see that they can now take the time to celebrate that they actually managed to meet the KPIs for July. And I would ask that the director pass on the staff, my thanks to all staff who continue to deliver outstanding customer service for this council.
Thanks, Councillor Mann. Speaker against? Any other speakers? No other speakers? I'll put the motion. Those in favour? Any against? Motion is carried unanimously. Thank you. Agenda item 12 is the receipt of petitions. We have one petition for the naming of Seagull Street, Slade Point. The Seagull Street Park, actually, but Slade Point. It's self-explanatory. There's no requirement to debate the receipt of petitions. The recommendation is the petition be received and referred to the CEO for a report to be prepared and considered by council, which investigates the issues identified within the petition. Somebody like to move? Councillor Jones moves. Councillor Mann seconds. Councillor Jones.
Thank you, Your Worship. The naming of Seagull Street Park, it's my absolute pleasure to present this petition to council and move this motion that the petition be received and referred to the CEO as you've suggested, and that the report be prepared for consideration by our council at a future date. Thank you, Your Worship.
Thank you. Speaker Race. Any other speakers? I'll put the motion. Those in favour? Any against? Motion's carried unanimously. Thank you. Tenders at 13.1. There's a tender for consideration, tender number 56255 for the Mackay Youngula Road Shared Pathway. Any questions around this? It's a self-explanatory report. Are there questions at all for this? No questions? Would somebody like to move the report's adoption? Councillor England moves. Councillor Green seconds. Councillor England.
Thank you, Worship. The evaluation panel didn't have to apply the local preference pricing system because it's really good that a lot of local businesses were very competitive in the current market. So C4 Civil has got the job. They've demonstrated they have the capacity and level of expertise to do this sort of stuff. So it's good to see so many local businesses, being competitive in the current market.
Thank you very much. Councillor England. Speaker against? Any other speakers? I'll put the motion. Those in favour? Any against? The motion is carried unanimously. Thank you. There's no notified motions today. Public participation. We have one member of the public. Mr. Meeks is registered to talk about programs. Welcome, Mr. Meeks.
Clinton Beck, 13 Grey Drive, in Mackay. Just wanted to talk about the construction of the new boat ramp at Slade Point. It's great to see that that's actually kicked off in Seagull Street, where the fisheries come from. It's great to see. The state government has contributed $1 million for the council to deliver on this boat ramp, which is very pleasing, which will consist of 15 car parks, footpaths to be installed. This is a historical push by council and councillors over the last 10 to 15 years have these boat ramps implemented in the area, which is really good for that particular community. The unfortunate thing is through the media, where there's inconsistencies, whether it's through the Daily Mercury or any other representation through the media, council, and I read the report this morning of the Office of Mayor and CEO, where it states we've had significant external grant funding by around $34 million, okay? When we're looking at Works for Queensland region 2019 and 2021, $9.98 million. Yet in the media, we've got certain councillors who want to skimp about how much a boat ramp is going to cost historically to maintain. So I think it's very important that while the council should be congratulated in regards to introducing boat ramps around the region, especially for tourism purposes, recreational purposes, mental health and wellbeing purposes, as we've mentioned throughout the meeting this morning about COVID-19 and its effects, it's also important that council make sure that their messaging is correct. Thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Beck. There's no further public participation today. Let's move on to late business, councillors. Anybody got late business? Councillor May.
Thank you very much, Worship. We know this morning that we attended a morning tea for the retirement of our Civil Operations Manager, Andrew Gibbs. I would just like to formally recognise Andrew's service here at today's meeting. Andrew has had a very strong association with local government over the 41 years, as we heard this morning. Some of that time being an engineer at Ullman and Nolan, who was one of the major engineering services that contracted to a lot of the smaller councils in the earlier days. And then Andrew took up a position as the Executive Manager of Engineering at Serena Shire Council. And out of Andrew's 25 years with local government as we know it, I was fortunate enough to be a councillor on a council for 17 of those years. So I got to know Andrew fairly well. We had lots of interactions as far as community consultations, inspections and those types of things. And you could always rely on Andrew's ability to be able to communicate well with the constituents, to be knowledgeable of what we were there to meet about. And you could always trust his sense of judgment, his ability to be able to gain the respect of not just the community, but his fellow workers and his team shone through today and has been like that since Andrew became employed as a council manager. He has served our community exceptionally well, and it's been a privilege from my part to be part of that journey with him.
Thank you very much, Councillor May. Well said, and thank you to the councillors who came along this morning to mark Gibbs' retirement. 41 years connected to the local government organisations in our region is quite a lengthy connection. Further late business. Councillor Bella has late business.
At 2:45 on Saturday, it will be the last game for the All Abilities side. They're playing Townsville Blackhawks. The mob they went up to play a couple of months ago. Townsville's returning the favour and coming down. I'd like to invite everyone to consider coming. At this point, I think it's worth thanking the QRL contingent here in Mackay for what they've done, Jade for organisation, but young Aussie, who is an absolutely lovely young lady who has a real way with our people there, and Matt, a really nice young bloke that fits in well, is able to show the guys what they need to do. They just fit in seamlessly. What's been pleasing over the last few months is the improvement we've seen in the guys there that are playing, not only in obviously their footballing skills, but their appreciation of teamwork and, to be honest, discipline. We've actually ratcheted that up as we go. It's helped quite a lot with behaviour, as I said, physical coordination, fitness, and the ability to attend and focus on a job at hand, which is something that's probably lacked for a while. We've had a solid core, and we've had some people that come and go. That solid core is quite disappointed that this is our last game. They're very keen to go around again. What is interesting is we get the whole gamut of physical, intellectual and behavioural disability there, and yet we've managed to make it all work quite well. We do have, as you have with every other side, issues, personality issues, but what I've been quite surprised is how few of those we've had. The plus side is that it's backed up very well with a social program, with the discos once a month at PCYC and evening meals on a Friday night at different venues with their karaoke. And I think both the social and the sporting thing has really brought a few things along. So in closing, once again, I'd just like to invite everyone to consider coming down for this last game. Next year is already being talked about by quite a number of, well, everyone there and quite a number of other people. And planning for that year will pretty much start as soon as we finish. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Bella. Further items of late business? No further items of late business. Councillors, we've got 4 confidential items to consider. 3 of them are fairly perfunctory. One's the legal report. Is there anybody requesting? Okay.
I'd want to talk about